Did you know that in North Korea they teach children that their leaders are like gods and possess supernatural powers? Or that in their regime they recruit schoolgirls as young as 13 to satisfy their leaders and associates? In this video, you will see 15 shocking things about North Korea. Let's watch it. It's fascinating. The Pleasure Squad. Since 2015, Kim Jong-un reinstated a dark and disturbing tradition known as the Pleasure Squad in North Korea. This creation, conceived by the current dictator's grandfather Kim Il-sung, had been maintained over the years until the death of his father, Kim Jong-il, in 2011. It involves a harem of 13-year-old schoolgirls, selected through virginity tests, destined to please the supreme leader and his associates. As shocking as it sounds. Articles in newspapers like the British The Sun tell how behind the ultra-protected palace walls, it is speculated that Kim Jong-un secludes himself, enjoying the entertainments provided by his harem. This group, consisting of about 2,000 girls, performs various functions from singing and dancing to participating in erotic games and activities with multiple participants. In an interview with the Jordan Harbinger show, Yeon-mi, a North Korean defector, shares her testimony about how women are divided into different groups, each with specific functions like satisfaction, happiness, massages, and more. Although they are expected to serve until a certain age, they are usually married to elite members after retiring but are prohibited from seeing their families again. Tell me if this is not slavery. This dark tradition of the Pleasure Squad is not new. It dates back to Kim Il-sung, who sought attractive young women to act as singers, dancers, and in some cases, comfort women for powerful officials. The tradition continued under Kim Jong-il and persisted even after his death. Girls were classified into different units, some explicitly designated to provide sexual services. This reveals the dark side of power, the sick pursuit of pleasure that leads to abusing others. How do you think we can contribute to ending this injustice? At the very least, by sharing this information with others, don't you think? Cult of leaders. Now imagine being told that the president of your country is a god or his descendant. In North Korea, the government has established a personality cult around its leaders, a form of worship that involves deifying the leader and promoting their image as a divine figure. The personality cult is imposed through an indoctrination system that starts from an early age. Children are taught to venerate the leader and believe that he is responsible for their well-being. They are taught that the leader has supernatural powers and can control the weather and other natural phenomena. Can you believe this abuse of power? The government uses propaganda to promote the idea that the leader is a divine figure responsible for the well-being of the people. People are taught to believe that the leader is infallible and cannot do anything wrong. The government controls all aspects of life in North Korea, including religion, and it is illegal to practice any religion other than the personality cult. The personality cult is manifested through monuments, rituals, and massive events that exalt the leader's image. Citizens participate in acts of devotion, such as mandatory visits to statues and monuments, demonstrating loyalty and reverence. Those who defy this ideology face serious consequences, including social marginalization, detention, and even executions. This indoctrination system contributes to maintaining the regime's control over the population, perpetuating unwavering loyalty toward the leaders, and ensuring the regime's continuity. Do you also feel indignation? What do you think we could do to stop this injustice? Concentration camps. Concentration camps in North Korea, also known as Kwanliso, are known for their inhumane conditions and treatment of prisoners. According to a report from the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights, North Korea engages in torture practices, unjust imprisonment, and forced labor under extremely severe conditions in its short-term detention centers and long-term forced labor prisoner camps, known as Kyohwaso. These abuses, considered widespread and systematic, could constitute crimes against humanity. Satellite images analyzed by human rights groups reveal that the camps not only persist, but have expanded since the UN investigation in 2014. Although the North Korean government vehemently denies the existence of these camps, evidence suggests otherwise. It is essential to highlight the severity of the situation in these places, where around 120,000 people are estimated to be imprisoned without due process. mainly for political reasons. The international community must take decisive action to protect North Korean citizens and ensure respect for their human rights. Amid the unimaginable atrocities of the World War II concentration camps, where freedom and dignity were taken away, testimonies emerged highlighting the extraordinary resilience of the human spirit. Viktor Frankl, a Holocaust survivor, reflected deeply on the essence of inner freedom, stating that everything can be taken from a man but one thing. The last of human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's way. Similarly, Anna Frank, in the midst of her own hidden odyssey during World War II, shared a poignant and hopeful vision. In spite of everything, I still believe that people are really good at heart. These words, forged in the crucible of suffering, remind us of the human capacity to find meaning, maintain hope, and preserve faith in goodness even in the darkest moments. In adversity, inner freedom, and the belief in intrinsic goodness as a spirit of a creating God stand as beacons of light, guiding humanity toward resilience and redemption. We ask for a prayer for those suffering from this terrible injustice. 3 generations of punishment. Imagine being told that your brother takes an apple from the neighborhood store and suddenly you and everyone, from your grandparents to your children, are taken to prison. Although your brother apologizes and returns the apple, that doesn't matter at all because the 3 generations punishment policy is activated like a spring, leaving your entire family in a judicial chaos. This is the tragic reality of North Korea, where the elderly and children share cells for the alleged crime they were not even aware of. The 3 generations prison policy is mainly applied to people perceived as enemies of the state or who have committed political crimes. This brutal measure not only punishes the individual but extends to their parents, children, and even grandchildren, creating a network of suffering that seeks to eradicate dissent at its roots. The intention is clear: instill fear and eliminate any thought of rebellion or disloyalty to the state. In a world where accusations of political crimes or being labeled as an enemy of the state lead to disastrous consequences, from imprisonment to forced labor or exile in remote places, freedom of expression becomes a non-existent luxury. In spite of international criticism and human rights condemnations, North Korea turns a deaf ear. It's as if your family, after the Apple incident, is subjected to constant condemnation without the possibility of defense. The suffering of countless families becomes a silenced testimony, while North Korea, immune to criticism, persists in implementing a policy that turns freedom of expression into a distant memory and family suffering into an unavoidable price for obedience. No religion. After considering their leaders as gods, it's not surprising that the North Korean constitution grants freedom of religious beliefs, but also prohibits the use of religion to attract foreign forces or to harm the state. Anyone caught practicing religion or even suspected of holding religious views in private is subject to severe punishment, including arrest, torture, imprisonment, and in some cases, execution. Unauthorized religious activities are illegal and are often practiced in secret. In 2019, North Korea was ranked as the worst country in the world in terms of Christian persecution by the International Catholic Aid Organization, Aid to the Church in Need. In 2023, the country was rated 0 out of 4 points regarding religious freedom. Although the North Korean constitution grants freedom of religious beliefs, in practice, religion is illegal, and any unauthorized religious activity is severely punished. Here we must remember Viktor Frankl's quote, "Everything can be taken from a man but one thing, the last of human freedoms." So they may take everything, but never their true beliefs, their hope in the goodness of God. Limited internet access. Now, imagine your life without Google, Netflix, ChatGPT, and all your social networks. Well, that's the reality for all North Koreans. The North Korean government has a highly restrictive rule that prohibits television, phones, and internet access. This rule has been in place for decades with the aim of isolating the country from the outside world and closely controlling the narrative presented to its citizens. By preventing citizens from accessing foreign media or the internet, authorities maintain strict control over the narrative, ensuring the preservation of state ideology and, most importantly, keeping the cult of personality around the leaders intact. Additionally, This rule also serves to maintain a sense of isolation and unity among citizens. With limited access to the outside world, North Koreans are less likely to be exposed to alternative viewpoints or different ways of life. This explains why they are so loyal to their leader and the cult. To ensure compliance with this rule, the government employs a sophisticated system of surveillance and censorship. Unauthorized possession of a television or internet-connected device is considered a serious crime, and those caught face severe consequences, including imprisonment or even execution. Yes, you heard that right. You could be sentenced to death for having a cell phone. Despite the isolation, there have been reports of citizens finding creative ways to access foreign media, often using smuggled devices or illegal satellite dishes. These citizens risk their lives to get information from the outside world and challenge state propaganda. Although the rule has been effective in maintaining the government's control over information and communication, it has also led to the deprivation of basic human rights and hindered the country's economic development. Music restrictions. What would our lives be without music? Well, North Koreans can certainly tell us. In North Korea, music is heavily regulated and controlled by the government, which seeks to use it as a tool to spread official ideology and reinforce the cult of personality around the country's leaders, especially the Kim dynasty. Popular music, like other forms of artistic expression, is subject to strict censorship and must adhere to themes and messages approved by the regime. Song lyrics, as well as visual representations in music videos, must promote loyalty to the regime and exalt the figure of the leaders. Artists in North Korea are selected and endorsed by the state, and their works are designed to fulfill the propaganda goals of the government. Any deviation from the official line can result in serious consequences, including the loss of privileges, social marginalization, or even imprisonment. While there are forms of traditional and folk music that reflect the country's culture, contemporary artistic expression is severely limited by the restrictions imposed by the regime, limiting diversity and musical creativity in the country. Ban on blue jeans. Yes, the North Korean regime specifically prohibits the use of blue jeans and long hair. Do you know why? Because wearing jeans has been considered a symbol of Western culture that threatens the purity of North Korean identity. This ban not only involves censorship of clothing, but also becomes a mechanism of social control, where those caught defying the regime face serious consequences, including detention and severe punishments. In addition to jeans, Supreme Leader Kim Jong-un forces men to adhere to ordered haircuts, while women have a specific list of allowed hairstyles. This meticulous regulation not only reflects state control over physical appearance, but also reveals the regime's concern about preventing any hint of individual expression or adoption of foreign trends. According to a report from The Guardian, the North Korean government imposes unwritten rules on personal style through a small army of young communists. Women's pants are carefully examined, and skimpy clothing would be entirely inappropriate. The regime has expressed dissatisfaction with garments with Roman letters. Anything too decorative or just too unusual will prompt censorship. Beyond appearances, the prohibition of jeans and hair regulations becomes a fortress for the North Korean regime. Propaganda campaigns encouraging socialist haircuts seek not only to control aesthetics but also act as a cultural shield. For the regime, fashion and personal appearance are not just stylistic choices but essential tools to preserve the purity of its culture and block external influence. Relationships in North Korea. Lovers in North Korea don't go to the movies, don't have dates or public displays of affection, and social gatherings are under surveillance. Citizens are cautious about engaging in romantic activities due to the risk of surveillance and imminent punishment. As a result, the love life of North Koreans is strongly influenced by the country's unique social and political context. The North Korean regime strictly controls interactions between citizens, including romantic relationships. Mostly, North Koreans follow traditional matchmaking and arranged marriages, taking into account social status and loyalty to the regime. The regime views relationships with foreigners as a potential risk to national security. So, the love life of North Koreans remains challenging and controlled, reflecting the regime's importance in maintaining strict social order and ideological conformity. What would you do if you were in their shoes? Sanitary pads. In North Korea, sanitary pads and tampons are not available in the market. Women use old-school reusable pads. Although the exact reason behind the lack of sanitary pads and tampons in the North Korean market is not clear, some reports suggest that the lack of access to materials necessary to manufacture these products is a significant factor. The lack of access to menstrual hygiene products is a serious issue in North Korea. According to a report from the Korea Economic Institute of America, sanitary towels are practically the only menstrual hygiene product available in North Korea, but they are expensive. Most brands are equivalent to about half a kilogram of rice. Unfortunately, they are considered a luxury. Projects that reduce the costs of the product would be a blessing for these women, improving a range of basic human rights. Traffic ladies. In the streets of Pyongyang, the capital of North Korea, the traffic ladies emerge as elegant and disciplined guardians of traffic order. Their presence doesn't go unnoticed by tourists. Welcomed by these uniformed women adorned in stylish attire, distinctive white gloves, and impeccable hats. Beyond being a practical necessity for directing traffic, the traffic ladies stand as iconic symbols of national pride and discipline in the country. These women, meticulously chosen for their physical appearance, height, and educational background, go beyond being mere traffic agents. Their training encompasses not only mastering traffic rules, but also acquiring communication skills and precise hand gestures to effectively manage vehicular flow. This blend of tradition, discipline, and nationalism makes them iconic figures, reflecting the complexity of North Korea's unique social and political landscape. Fertilizer with human waste. Following the closure of the border with China, North Korea faces a severe crisis due to the lack of fertilizers. For this reason, farmers have resorted to a desperate solution, using human excrement as fertilizer. This practice, officially ordered by Kim Jong-un in 2014, reflects the regime's priority in investing in the military rather than agriculture. This unconventional agricultural approach has given rise to a unique practice where human feces collected from public restrooms and homes become a valuable source of nutrients for crops. However, it's crucial to consider a BBC report highlighting concerns from South Korean doctor Lee Cook-jong. After assisting a North Korean soldier who defected and arrived in South Korea, the doctor expressed his surprise, stating that he had never before observed so many parasites in one intestine. The doctor warns of potential devastating health consequences if fertilizers are not adequately treated and current indications suggest they are not being handled properly. This aspect poses a serious threat and underscores the need to urgently and effectively address fertilizer management to prevent a potential health crisis. Education in the young ones. From childhood, children undergo rigorous training where morning classes not only cover science and mathematics, but also instill ideological fervor, centered on communist morals and the veneration of supreme leaders, Kim Il-sung and Kim Jong-il. As Ryan Murdoch recounts from his visit to North Korea, classrooms are adorned with sacred images of these leaders and become settings where even the slightest slip can trigger severe consequences, illustrating the delicate line between education and absolute control. The educational experience in North Korea becomes a place of indoctrination where arts and music are carefully used to weave a narrative of hostility towards the United States. In art classes, children depict images of violence against the enemy country, demonstrating how education serves as a vehicle to cultivate nationalist fervor from an early age. Even the music, though executed with technical skill, reflects the imposed rigidity, where forced smiles and choreographed movements create an unsettling atmosphere. North Korean classrooms reveal a landscape where teaching is not just a knowledge transfer process, but a masterful tool to sculpt loyalties and conformity in every mind from childhood. Rayang Hotel, the Hotel of the Final Judgment. This giant is the Rayang Hotel, a 330-meter-tall structure that has puzzled the world since its construction began in 1987. Although its exterior was completed in 2011, its interior remains unfinished, giving rise to its ironic nickname, the Hotel of the Final Judgment. This monumental building consists of 3 wings that rise majestically, each measuring 100 meters in length and 18 meters in width, slightly staggered and then inclined at a 75-degree angle to the ground. They converge at a common point to form an impressive pinnacle, Originally conceived to house 5 revolving restaurants and between 3,000 and 7,665 rooms, this unfinished giant stands as the tallest building in North Korea, overshadowing the skyline of Pyongyang. The Rayang Hotel, known as the Hotel of the Final Judgment for its decades of problematic construction, thus becomes a visual testament to the ambition and vision of the North Korean regime. Despite remaining closed to the public, this incomplete colossus remains an iconic landmark that sparks global fascination and speculation. What secrets does its abandoned interior hold? The answer, like the hotel itself, remains shrouded in mystery. Mass Games. In the mysterious North Korean stage, the Mass Games emerge as a monumental display of art and dance, captivating the world with its magnitude and symbolism. With thousands of gymnasts and dancers backed by a constant flow of images and words exalting the North Korean state, this monumental event has produced some of the most iconic images of this hermetic country. Despite its name, Mass Games are much more than a simple exhibition. They are a choreographed masterpiece that merges technical skill, national narrative, and, this year, rumored cutting-edge technology, all while leader Kim Jong-un seeks to reinvent North Korea's image, focusing on economic development and openness to the world. These mass games, often compared to the American Super Bowl ceremonies, offer a unique window into the official North Korean vision, wrapped in a spectacular 90-minute presentation. Despite controversies and criticism for possibly whitewashing human rights, mass games remain a cultural phenomenon, with the most famous version, Rayang, narrating national glorification after turbulent periods. This year, the event is expected to reflect changes in Kim Jong-un's strategy, abandoning hostile rhetoric and focusing on highlighting economic achievements and willingness for peaceful coexistence. On the global stage, North Korea's mass games continue to be an unparalleled experience, where dance blends with politics and national narrative comes to life dazzlingly. Now that you know the reality of this country, I invite you to pray for an end to its oppression and for the international community to take action to end this terrible situation. Thank you for joining us, and here are some other incredible videos that you'll surely love.